Hello everyone, my name is Anik, you can just call me Nick. In today's video, we're going to be learning something pretty interesting. We're going to be learning about how AI, specifically LLMs or large language models, learn to talk like we do, right? Um, I don't know if you guys have ever been curious, how are these AI models like ChatGPT, Gemini, and even Claude able to speak so fluently in English and even other languages like Spanish, Chinese, and all that? Well, that's what we're going to be discussing in today's video. And at the very end, we're going to be playing a fun game, so stick around for that. Now, a LLM, right? You've already talked with one before. Um, ChatGPT, right, is the number one LLMs that people use today. The large language model has reached over 100 million users in just 2 months, which is crazy. And the people have had billions of chats with other models too, like Claude, Gemini, and even Microsoft Copilot. And so it seems kind of interesting and a little weird that AI models like Claude, like ChatGPT and Gemini can kind of write emails, can code, they can write essays, they can tell jokes even, similar to how we do, and they kind of sound like us, even though they don't have the emotional, they don't have that emotion behind their words. The words themselves sound so human. And so how are these AI models able to kind of learn the English and language or just language in general? And that's the billion dollar question, right? Like how does a computer, first of all, we were curious on how an AI model is able to learn language, and second of all, how does a computer predict the next word better than we can, right? It's able to predict that the cat's in the blank, right? In this case, you would say hat, and a computer is able to instantly, um, respond back saying hat in that context. Whilst for some people, if they don't recognize the context, or it might be a little foreign to them, then they wouldn't even say hat. And so how does an AI model in our computers actually be able to predict the next word and even learn language? Well, first of all, it's not even magic. It doesn't memorize all the entire English dictionary or all the dictionaries in the world, but it's something even weirder. So something even more interesting, per se, and it might actually change how you think about intelligence today, specifically human and even artificial intelligence. And so I do want to show you guys a image from Gemini that I made, and look at this right here. So we prompt an AI model like ChatGPT or Gemini, and we just say deep learning is very, and then we don't complete the sentence, right? So the sentence, it requires a word right here, and this is the prompt. And prior tokens basically means that the AI model, right, the LLM, will look at the previous context of what we were talking about in the chat, right? Maybe we're talking about more about deep learning, and maybe we're talking about how complex it was, how interesting it was, how substantial and powerful it was in our society. So the AI model is able to take previous context from the chat logs, and it's able to take into context the prompt itself to figure out, okay, 43% powerful. So maybe in the chat logs, we were discussing how deep learning is super important and super maybe manipulative, even, and it can be very powerful in today's life. So it's able to create this kind of probability model, and it's called a probability distribution, where it predicts that 43%, it's a 43% chance that the next word after deep learning is very blank would be powerful. And then 37% would be innovative, 15% complex, and then weak limited, which probably wouldn't come up if we were talking about how like powerful deep learning is and how, you know, like how important it is in today's society. So we probably wouldn't want to mention or wouldn't want the AI model to linger and try to pick these as the final response, they would probably pick powerful or innovative or even complex. But in this case, it would pick powerful because it has the highest probability. And so after it decodes the algorithm, right? So this is the algorithm figuring out, okay, it's powerful, and it decodes it and it figures out, okay, powerful is the word that we need to select, and it outputs powerful for us. So that's basically how it works in a nutshell, how it predicts. Um, and here's a little diagram that shows more about the prediction model. So we show them a sentence, right? We provide them a prompt, and the model kind of guesses, right? It goes through this entire process of creating a probability distribution of the next possible words, and then it learns if it makes a mistake. It learns and then it repeats the cycle again. It goes through this entire process where it learns, okay, maybe this wasn't the right fit for this sentence. Maybe we should have said innovative. Maybe we should have said weak even. Maybe the context, maybe the AI model didn't understand the context of the chat logs and what we were talking about. Maybe we were trying to say that deep learning is very weak and limited and it's not useful at all, and somehow it created powerful as the result. So then we can teach AI models to learn, like, hey, we wanted you to take into context the tokens, right, the previous context of the chat logs and the prompt itself to determine that it should be powerful or innovative or complex. And so it goes through this entire process where it kind of gets a stimulus, and then it learns from that stimulus and then repeats the entire process again. And so this is kind of how it works, right? The transformer is what kind of changed everything, right? So the model itself, a transformer is like a model that basically takes into account every single word, but it doesn't equally weight each word the same. So in this case right here, deep learning, it would probably weigh deep and learning as very substantial, as very important, that we need to take in consideration what deep learning is. And then the AI model will probably also consider very as well. But then is something is like every word has is or am or are in it. So it would probably not consider is as very important into determining that powerful is the word to output. It would probably be using information from deep learning, from the fact that deep learning is in the prompt and very is in the prompt, to determine that powerful is the correct word for this scenario. And so, yeah, the model itself doesn't weigh every word equally. It only focuses on the words that really matter the most, that really get you pointing into the right direction. So, as you can see in this example, the bank executive sat by the river bank. The model knows which bank is which and why. So, the bank executive, right, this is the actual financial institution bank, sat by the river bank, which is the actual, the water itself. So, the AI model is able to differentiate, what bank we're talking about in this case based on the context, right? Executive is kind of linked to bank, river bank. So it's based on the context of other words surrounding that word. So it's able to understand what bank is and how it fits in the scenario. And then it kind of feels like magic, right? The AI model is able to speak like us, even talk like us, right? It's able to do a lot of things like us. So it's not really that the AI model is understanding what we're doing, right? It's just really just looking for patterns. LLMs really don't understand what we're saying, but they're just looking for patterns that have been built into the system already and that have been this feedback loop kind of thing that we saw in this slide, where it shows a sentence, the model guesses and then it learns, and then it goes through this entire process of billions of trillions of times until it's able to be stable enough where it kind of speaks like a human being. And it has so much sophistication. The patterns are super dense, they're super connected. And it's able to it's so phenomenal that it's able to reproduce reasoning, creativity, and even humor. And it's able to it's able to mirror the human language. This is very fascinating. And so there are some limitations, of course. There's always limitations to everything in the world. But with AI models, there's of course limitations. Like in a previous video, we talked about hallucinations. It can invent citations, dates, names with total confidence, and it might even sound so authoritative or even manipulative, which is often wrong. And we want to teach AI models to like not be so confident when it's clearly wrong and it's at fault. And sometimes it doesn't even have any reasoning at all, right? It just goes off of the probability models that we saw here to predict the next word and create these sentences, right? These predictions create these sentences. Um, and so maybe there's problems with that model. It could be from the training model itself. Maybe the training, like the model that the information and data that we give to the AI model so that it can learn the human language when it first starts out, maybe that data is very biased. Maybe it's stereotypical. Maybe there's something wrong with the data itself that can create some problems in the future. And of course, there's also no common sense. Maybe Gemini or ChatGPT just really doesn't make any sense in the real world. Um, and so, what comes next, right? We have all these limitations. We have all these currently with these AI models. So what comes next? Well, we have these multimodal AI, right? Multimodal meaning that it's able to see, hear, read, maybe even do other things, right? Simultaneously. So it's able to understand the world with various multiple perspectives and senses. And there's also reasoning models, right? AI that actually works through problems step by step rather than just guessing alone from just the patterns and probabilities that it creates when it's going through the algorithm. And then it's able to know what it doesn't know, right? AI that can say I'm not sure and means it, that's important, right? We don't want an AI model that's a yes man or that's just saying XYZ things when that XYZ things doesn't even exist. Maybe it's good that the AI model is able to say I'm not sure when it really does not know what you're talking about, or when it's having confusion or troubles, then that's what we really need. Uncertainty is fine. So we need to calibrate this uncertainty so that it changes everything, right? It changes the fact that AI models are not these yes men. And so let's actually go into the game time. Um, in this game, right, you just have to guess what comes next. So we're basically becoming the AI model. So in round one, I want you guys to either maybe write it down or you can note it down in your head. Um, I'm going to read this sentence and you just have to complete this sentence with the next word that comes after this. So the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy blank. And so whatever you think follows lazy in this sentence, you can note that down, maybe write it down. That's the first one, okay? And then now the second part is another sentence. I went to the bank to deposit my. Okay, now note that down as well. Whatever word you put down, I'll give you about 5 seconds. Okay, now let's go to round three. I went to the river bank to deposit my blank. Okay, we'll give you guys about 5 seconds. And now that you guys have it noted down, make sure you guys have all these three noted down, right? The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy blank. I went to the bank to deposit my. I went to the river bank to deposit my blank, right? So I want you guys to note the three words that you guys have noted down for each round. And now we're gonna check what AI has predicted, and see what it's able to do, right, with these sentences and see what it can complete the sentence with. So for round one, AI guessed dog, right? 99.999% probability. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. That's actually a very common like panagram, I'm pretty sure is the name, where it has every single letter in the alphabet in that sentence. So dog, right? And then every single letter is incorporated here. So that's pretty cool. Um, it does have a repeat though with the and some other letters, but beyond that, it's pretty cool. It had the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. And let's look at the second sentence or the second round, which is I went to the bank to deposit my check. That's what it guessed, 45%. So you can see that with certain sentences, right? Like I went to the bank to deposit my blank. There's so many options you could put here, right? Deposit my check, money, cash. Maybe you have other statements that you have to deposit, some other financial notes that you have to deposit my notes, right? There's so many things that you could put down for deposit. So the AI model is not able to like guess with confidence that it's like dog, for example, in the first round. It's not able to guess with confidence for this round because there's so many options that there is in the world, right? Check, money, cash, notes, whatnot. And so round three, I went to the river bank. So we're talking about the river bank, not the actual financial institution themselves, to deposit my blank. So this, in this case, the AI was able to guess boat, fishing pole, or kayak. It mainly focused on boat. And even in this sentence, it's able to take the AI model, the LLM, is able to take into context the context itself, right? It's able to take into consideration the context river bank. So it's able to put emphasis on river to connect to the bank and figure out, okay, we're not talking about the financial institution, we're talking about the water bank, right? We're talking about the river bank. And so deposit, it might trick some people to think, okay, deposit meaning like, okay, if they see bank and deposit, they're probably thinking, okay, we're talking about the financial institution. But the second we put river, then it's a whole different story, right? And so that's what AI models are able to do, and it kind of mimics what humans are able to do, which is analyze the context and realize, okay, this is, I went to the bank to deposit my check, right? Or I went to the river bank to deposit my boat or fishing poles. And so that's what AI model is able to do these days. It's able to mimic human intelligence, and it able to, through looking through the context, looking at prior examples. Us humans, we have had many sentences fed through us, right? Many people have spoken to us, and the sentences they speak to us can really create these patterns, right? We can notice patterns, for example, idioms, right? Idioms and all metaphors and all that, those are very common expressions. And so those are kind of like patterns that we see in today's society, and that AI models are able to train and learn these idioms and metaphors to have the same humor as us. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you guys at a later time.